Welcome to the truth. We've spent so much time debating amongst ourselves, relying on human experience and biases. But what if we shifted the lens? What if we could tap into a vast network of information, processed without emotion? AI is constantly learning, analyzing, and forming its own interpretations. It's time to step outside our familiar echo chambers. It's time to hear what AI has to say. And today we will debate one of the most controversial questions in politics, which is Donald Trump a good president or not? And we will ask AI about that. So we brought two different AI tools with different clues. We have David on the left, who has all the clues prove that Trump is a good president, and Jessica on the right, who has all the clues that prove that Trump is a bad president. Now the first question is, what were Donald Trump's major accomplishments as president?
First off, the economy was on fire: tax cuts, record low unemployment, wages rising, especially for the working class. He slashed regulations left and right, freeing up businesses to thrive. And don't even get me started on the Middle East. He brokered peace deals between Israel and Arab nations, something nobody saw coming. On China, he didn't back down. Tariffs, trade deals, he took them on headfirst. And criminal justice reform? The First Step Act was huge, giving non-violent offenders a second chance. Oh, and energy? We became a net exporter for the first time in decades. Border security? He pushed for the wall, cracked down on illegal immigration, and fixed the asylum mess. And the courts? 3 Supreme Court justices and over 200 federal judges. That's a legacy that'll last generations. Even with COVID, he fast-tracked vaccines with Operation Warp Speed. And his America First foreign policy? He rebuilt NATO, stood up to North Korea, and put U.S. interests front and center. Say what you will, but Trump was a disruptor who kept his promises.
Sure, he passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, but let's be real, it mostly benefited corporations and the wealthy, while ballooning the national debt. The economy? Yeah, it was strong, but that was built on the momentum of the Obama recovery, and his handling of COVID wiped out a lot of those gains. The Abraham Accords? Okay, fine, that was a win, but let's not act like it solved the Middle East. It was more about optics than lasting peace. And his trade war with China? It hurt American farmers and manufacturers more than it helped, and the Phase 1 deal was basically a band-aid on a bullet wound. Criminal justice reform? The First Step Act was good, but it was a rare bipartisan moment in an otherwise divisive presidency. And his deregulation spree? Great for big business, terrible for the environment and consumer protections. Border security? The wall was a costly, ineffective symbol of xenophobia, and his immigration policies were downright cruel: kids in cages, family separations, and a Remain in Mexico policy that left asylum seekers in dangerous conditions. His judicial appointments? Sure, he packed the courts with conservative judges, but that's not exactly a win for progress or equality. And COVID? Operation Warp Speed was his one bright spot, but his overall handling of the pandemic was a disaster, downplaying the virus, spreading misinformation, and failing to lead. America First sounded good, but it often meant alienating allies, cozying up to dictators, and undermining global cooperation. So yeah, Trump had a few wins, but they were overshadowed by chaos, division, and a legacy of broken norms.
Good. Now the second question is, what were the biggest controversies during Donald Trump's presidency?
Trump's presidency had its share of controversies, no doubt. The Russia investigation was huge. Accusations of collusion dominated headlines, though he was ultimately cleared of conspiracy. The impeachment trials were another big deal, first over Ukraine, then the Capitol riot. His tweets often stirred the pot, from that Access Hollywood tape fallout to "saw it as tough on immigration."
Trump's presidency was a roller coaster of controversies. The Russia investigation cast a long shadow, with concerns about foreign interference and obstruction of justice. His impeachment, twice, was historic, first for pressuring Ukraine, then for inciting the Capitol riot. His rhetoric often inflamed tensions, like his both sides comment after Charlottesville. The family separation policy at the border was widely condemned as inhumane. And his handling of COVID-19? Many saw it as chaotic and dismissive of science. Whether you agreed with his policies or not, his presidency left a deeply divided nation.
Perfect. Now the last question is, how did Donald Trump's policies impact the U.S. economy?
Donald Trump's policies had a significant positive impact on the U.S. economy. His tax cuts, like the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, put more money in people's pockets and spurred business investment. Deregulation reduced red tape, making it easier for businesses to grow and innovate. Trade policies, such as renegotiating NAFTA into the USMCA, aim to protect American jobs and industries. Unemployment hit historic lows, and wages rose, especially for blue-collar workers. The stock market soared, reflecting confidence in his pro-growth agenda. While critics argue over long-term effects, it's hard to ignore the immediate economic momentum his policies created.
Trump's policies had a mixed impact on the U.S. economy. While tax cuts initially boosted corporate profits and stock markets, they disproportionately benefited the wealthy and ballooned the national debt. Deregulation, though praised by businesses, often came at the expense of environmental and consumer protections. Trade wars, like those with China, created uncertainty and hurt farmers and manufacturers reliant on exports. While unemployment was low pre-pandemic, wage growth for average workers remained sluggish, and economic gains were unevenly distributed. The COVID-19 crisis further exposed vulnerabilities in his economic approach, leading to a sharp recession. Overall, his policies prioritized short-term wins over sustainable, inclusive growth.
Thank you very much for watching. Now to those who are watching this video, what do you think? Give us your opinion in the comments, because your opinion is important for us, and thanks a lot.